Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 19th of November 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of our show. We'll begin with the Middle East situation, and today is day 408 of the Israel-Palestine conflict, which began on the 7th of October last year and continues unabated as we speak. The number of casualties keeps on increasing, the number of injured keeps on increasing. The situation as far as the health and the basic facilities and their availability is concerned also continues to decrease with every passing day. A lot of question marks emanate as far as the dire situation of the Palestinians is concerned. To add to that is also the situation in Lebanon, where the number of casualties is also increasing, the number of bombardments on Lebanon is increasing, the displacements are increasing, and the basic situation of the people there is also getting worse with every passing day. Under all these circumstances is a ray of hope in the form of a ceasefire proposal that could happen between Israel and Lebanon. But what will be the contours of this ceasefire? This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns education in far-flung areas in Pakistan. We will be in conversation with the principal of a leading school in Chitral, and we will ask her journey, where and how she began, and of course just to let her know she is not a Pakistani national but a British one. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns US President-elect Donald Trump, who is prepared to declare a national emergency and use military assets for mass deportations, and of course this is in the fulfillment of his promise that he made during his campaign for this very election. Will that actually happen? If that happens, what will be the after effects of it? This is going to be discussed in our third story. Finally, we are going to talk about the sea levels that are rising due to the climate change and could prominently or permanently rather displace up to 20 million people by the year 2100. It's not far away, 2100. We already in 2024, in fact end of 2024. This is a report that was given by the Mediterranean experts on climate and environmental change. We know so many countries that are on the border and whose surfaces touch that of oceans or seas. So, of course, a huge level of concern for countries, for example, such as the Maldives. This is going to be the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the situation in the Middle East, and today is day 408 of that. So many contours of this crisis that continue to become more and more complicated with each passing day. We've been joined by Dr. Munawar Hussain. He's a foreign affairs expert right here with us in the studios. Dr. Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. I'll begin with the situation as far as Lebanon is concerned, but then we'll come to Gaza. The number of casualties has exceeded 3,500 since the whole thing began in last October between Palestine and Israel. But the fact is that most of these casualties have increased in the last couple of weeks or months, let's put it that way. 14,000, around 15,000 people have been injured also. And the number of displaced is in the hundreds of thousands, some say 1.2, 1.4 million as well. But of course, these numbers are also increasing. And the number of attacks is also increasing. There have been major attacks on Sunday. There have been attacks on Monday. What is Lebanon's fate in your point of view if all of this continues in the same direction?
Omar Sahab, thank you very much for having me in the show. This is very unfortunate that civilians, they are being targeted, whether it is in Lebanon or Gaza, which is actually a barren violation of humanitarian laws. And in fact, it is also a violation of human rights as well. And I would say that the United Nations reputation is at stake. But as far as Lebanon is concerned, its fate is concerned, I would say victory is their fate, because we know what happened in 2000, then in 2006, then in 2016, and now in 2024. Because Hezbollah and Lebanese army, they are not as weaker as the Hamas is, because Hamas is encircled. Number two, I would say that though Hezbollah and Lebanon's army, they don't have air power as the Israelis they have, but even then their missile and their drone strikes have hit the major targets in Israel, which is not shown by the Israeli media. Third, I would say that Israeli soldiers, they are deserting Israeli army. Many, they have written letters to Netanyahu that you must give the political roadmap. We are tired to fight. Number four, Israel is in a declining position. If you see, for instance, its military, 50% of his Golani brigade is destroyed. Out of 400, in a week, 50 Merkava tanks, they were targeted by the Hezbollah. 15 to 20 casualties they are sustaining at the southern border. If you see their economy, it has a zero value in international financial market as far as its bond is concerned. Politically and society, it is fragmented and polarized. And now their support, especially from the United States of America, I believe that it is going to be weakened more, because when Donald Trump would take a charge, he would save the dollar, he would not spend the dollar, and therefore he has announced that he would make America free energy country. And last but not the least, meager international support. I mean, they are losing international support, their image, whether it is in the international organization or by the Western countries because of the public pressure. So these are the factors where I believe that their capability to fight more and more with Hezbollah, with Hamas, is declining day by day. And there is a question which is being raised again and again within Israel and outside of Israel, whether Israel is in a position to carry on war for 1 or 2 years more. And people and analysts, they have a doubt on it.
All right. That's very interesting that you mentioned about the longevity of this war as well. In all of this context, Tor Wennesland, who is the United Nations Middle East envoy, has briefed the United Nations Security Council, and he has said that the region, that is the Middle East, is in a grim crossword, and that the current conditions for Gaza are amongst the worst that he has seen, or we have seen, during the entire war. We also know that the number of Palestinians that are being killed is slowly and steadily remaining the same or increasing. 50 Palestinians have been killed in and across Gaza since Monday. Gaza's Interior Ministry says at least 20 people were killed in an operation targeting gangs that looted the United Nations trucks, bringing food into the war-torn territory. And of course, then in the different camps also that are being targeted, almost 44,000 people have been killed in Gaza since this began, and almost 104,000 people have been injured. And this is just a superficial number, because the actual number we'll really know once the war settles or ends. The Pope, that is Pope Francis, has also called for an investigation into the allegations of genocide. UN says 75,000 people remain under siege with dwindling supplies of water and food. 70% of those killed in Israel's war are women and children. Again, another of the United Nations report. Do you feel that this situation that we are encountering or watching in the Middle East as it unfolds has become the worst of this century, or maybe the previous centuries as well?
Frankly speaking, the reputation of United Nations is at stake, and the international peace at stake. But now question is, why do we need a United Nations? It is the liberal idea, because they believe that if we would have a very effective international organization, they would manage the conflict in international politics. But now question is United Nations successful to manage the Palestinian conflict, the Kashmir conflict? The answer is no.
That is because of the veto power.
Veto power. But another very important aspect is, wherever global north, they have an interest, they implement those resolutions, they provide resources, they provide peacekeeping forces. Now it is the responsibility of the global south, because these all issues belong to the global south, whether it is a climatic problem or Palestinian issue or Kashmir issue. Now the important members of global south, they are playing very significant role in international politics, like China, like Russia, like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, like South Africa, for instance, like Turkey. So they can manage these conflicts by providing resources and by building up pressure on the international organization. Second, my important point is that, look, history, it's repeating itself, and we are not ready to learn lessons from the history. We remember that Italy attacked Abyssinia in 1938. League of Nations could not do anything except appeasing Italy. And then Japan captured Manchuria, a very important province of China, in 1939. Again, League of Nations could not do this. What was the result? Second World War. So if these issues are not properly managed in a multipolar world where center of power, where the power is not only concentrated in one country, in the hands of one country, but rather it is dispersed. So the situation can be more serious, because Abyssinia and Manchuria, they were not as important as nowadays the Palestinian issue, because oil resources, and this may lead second Arab Spring, and that would hurt the interest of United States, because all governments in the Middle Eastern countries, they are the ally of the US. So I mean, this is very, very sensitive issue.
So basically you feel that the geostrategic situation of the world could change in the next couple of months or years as a result of this current situation in the Middle East.
Yes, because governments are failed to address such issues, and the governments are failed even to fulfill the desire of the people, the opinion of the people, on which the democracy is based, on which the liberal order is based. If you want respect the public opinion, they have a right to revolt against their governments. I am not saying this, I mean this is the scholar like Rousseau who has said that there is a social contract between people and the government. If government fails to fulfill the promises with the people, people have right to revolt against their governments. So I mean there would be a very precarious situation in that case. So this is the time, I think, where United Nations has to protect its reputation and has to perform its duty. If it needs resources, UN can come into contact with the important members of the Global South.
US Special Envoy for the Middle East, Omar Hussain, has arrived in the Lebanese capital. Now, Lebanese government source says that the level of American optimism is the highest in the year as far as a ceasefire is concerned. Will a ceasefire be reached in your point of view, Dr. Saab?
I think why Democrats, they are putting their all efforts to have a ceasefire at this time, and they have lost.
But this is not in Palestine, this is in Lebanon.
In Lebanon, yes. Why it is in Lebanon, I would tell you later on. But I mean, again, I would say that the Democrats, they want to rebuild their tarnished reputation, because they are famous for peace. They are famous for open diplomacy. They do not use war, power as an instrument for the pursuance of American foreign policy. But this was the time of President Joe Biden. He used excessively the military power as an instrument for the pursuance of its foreign policy. For instance, what is going on in Ukraine, how they supported Israel. I mean, it is clear-cut evidences. Second, I would say that the principle of power, because realists, they believe that diamond cuts diamond. It is the power in the hand of Hezbollah, and they know Hezbollah is a formidable army, and Lebanese, they are supporting Hezbollah. There is no division in Lebanon as was in the past, due to which Israel ruled over Lebanon for 20 years, you see. So this is the reason, because Lebanese, they have a power, they are retaliating against the Israeli strikes, and Israeli ex-prime minister said that don't dare to go into the southern Lebanon, because Lebanese army and Hezbollah has capability to give you the surprise, and they are giving surprises, because 15 to 20 deaths they are bearing. So I believe this is the factor of power, and here question arises that if they are serious in peace, why they are offering such deals to Hezbollah and not to the Hamas, as you raised the question, because Hamas is a weaker party, because it is encircled. So therefore I think it is the power of Hezbollah which is playing important role in pushing Americans and the Western leaders to go for peace. And last point, I would say that the pressure from internal and external side, from internal US society, which is building up the pressure on the US government one, and from the external side like the OIC and Arab Summit, which was
recently held.
Exactly. This is a sort of pressure which is coming on the administration of United States to go for peace.
All right, but that also we will see once the President-elect Trump also comes into power as to what policies he will undertake, because he is also, on the one side we see him supporting Israel, but on the other hand he also says that he is there to stop all wars. So let's see what happens. Now, Anthony Blinken, who is a US Secretary of State, has said Israel has accomplished its goals and it was time for fighting in Gaza to end. At the same time, Joe Biden's administration issues a new round of sanctions on groups and individuals who are involved in illegal Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. What is your opinion on these two? Do you feel that the Joe Biden government or the Democrats before leaving are trying to rectify certain measures?
Exactly. I agree with you. They are trying to rectify and they want to rebuild their reputation because they want to remain alive in American politics. Secondly, do we agree that Israelis, they have achieved targets? I mean, their targets were to dismantle completely Hamas. Have they got success in that area? I would say no, because Hamas is an idea. Many times I have discussed in your program that Hamas is an idea, and Plato used to say that idea is more important than the reality. And second, Western analysts, they believe that more than 4 brigade is intact. Hamas is successfully protected its 4 brigades out of 6. So as far as southern border is concerned, their target was to resettle their people who left their homes. Their number is about 100,000. They are living in shelters even. They could not go back to their area. They said that they would establish a buffer zone between Lebanon and Israel. Could they do this? Again, they are failed in that. They said that they would have organized systematic operation and they would weaken the Hezbollah. Have they done this?
You know, the fact is also that Joe Biden also proposed his 3-point ceasefire plan that never got implemented. You know, there are certain things that they did try, but it never materialized because of Israel's insistence or pressure. Now, last question on a parting note. Israel's foreign minister warns the Iraqi government to take immediate action to halt attacks by Iran-backed groups in Iraq as militias claim another drone attack on Israel. He says, and I quote, "The government of Iraq is responsible under international law to prevent the use of its territory as a base for attacks against other nations. Against this backdrop, I wish to recall once again that Israel has the inherent right to self-defense and to take all necessary measures to protect itself and its citizens." Is Iraq being added to Israel targets in addition to Lebanon, in addition to Yemen, in addition to Syria?
Omar, Israel is facing 7 fronts war at this moment. Hitler could not win 2 fronts war. I mean, they are fighting with Hezbollah, they are fighting with Hamas, they are fighting with Hashd-e-Shaibi, Ansarullah, Yemeni, Syrians. And they are no more a strong state at this moment, because once this war would be ended, Israel would emerge as a weaker, fragmented, divided state. I mean, it is for the first time that they have lost even their psychological upper hand because they were famous for their strong army. So they don't have such a capability to attack Iraq. And if they would attack Iraq, they must be ready for the retaliation from the Iraqi people. And I must say that Iraqi people, they are a good fighter. They are very good fighter in the whole region. All Arabs, they are not as good fighter as the Iraqis they are. So therefore, I don't think that Israelis, they have capability to attack.
Well, only time will tell, Dr. Munawar, as to what is going to happen, what's going to be the US strategy, and what is going to actually happen in the Middle East will be revealed, I feel, after January 2025. Thank you very much, Dr. Munawar Hussain, to have joined us and to have talked to us so candidly about the current situation in the Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our first segment. We'll be back right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and our second segment today is a bit different from the norm, because we are going to talk about education and the importance of education, and how there are certain individuals, not only in Pakistan but from across the world, who are passionate about disseminating the right type of education to girls and boys across the world, including in Pakistan. Our story today, our segment, concerns one such individual. She is from the United Kingdom, and she has been serving as the principal of an education institution here in Pakistan, in fact in Chitral, since the last 12 years or so. Her name is Carey Schofield, and she's right here with us in the studios. She's a principal, the British principal of the Langland School and College in Pakistan. And just to put things right? This institution has been noted for its academic excellence. She has also had a previous career as a journalist, and we might touch a little bit if we have time on that. Carey, thank you very much to have joined us. Carey, your journey has been exceptional as an educationist, as a journalist. Do you combine the both now in your current position as the principal of the Langland School?
Well, I don't write at the moment, apart from school reports, notifications, letters to parents. But some of the skills of journalism are quite useful. As you know, as a journalist, you learn to listen to people. And that I think is very important.
I think that is interesting, and at the same that opens you up also, because as a journalist you have to listen to all kinds of opinions, and then when you look at diverse opinions and you formulate one that kind of balance all opinions, that also works as an educationist, because you listen to the parents, you listen to the students, you listen to the academics, and then you forge a middle ground where you can work for the betterment of the entire community. Education. Why select and continue being an educationist, and of all places in Chitral in Pakistan? What motivated you to continue working in Chitral?
I'd always been involved in education, even when I was mainly earning my living as a writer. And with the passage of time, education has become more and more pressing. It's become more of a question to know what we're really trying to do. There was a time when it was evident what schools were for, what education was for. Now it's become much more difficult to get a handle on that. And by 2012, when I was appointed to this job, I'd spent a lot of time in Pakistan. I felt very much at home here. I loved the way of life, the culture. So it was a fairly natural step.
But being an educationist is not an easy task. It comes with its responsibilities, it comes with its pressures, and it comes with the added responsibility of innovating the whole process of education. When it comes to Chitral, how have you innovated education in your institute?
There was a lot of work to do when I first took over in Chitral. What we've tried to do since then is to establish core values underlying the institution. We've tried to stress that our way of life is very important. Hard work, gentleness, truth, loyalty, faithfulness. A generally good, kind environment. Building on that, we've worked hard to improve academic standards. Our school now has the only, I think, really tough exam hall in our district. And yet still our students do very well. This year they took the top 2 positions in matriculation, class 10, and one of our students came top in pre-medical FSC, intermediate, in class 12. That's been a huge battle. It's been a huge battle to combine hard work and excellence with ruthless standards in the exam hall.
When you talk of standards, education standards are also extremely pertinent, specifically when it comes to the teachers, your staff that is there, and the relationship that they develop with their students. How do you delve on that? What kind of emphasis do you put on your staff as far as building on the relationship with students is concerned, and how to inculcate the right values in the students? Because that is also extremely important.
It's hugely important. One of the things that upsets me recently has been that schools have been asked to have a character building club or character building lessons. It seems to me entirely wrong, because character building is something that every teacher does in every lesson. Students' character is built through watching their chemistry teacher or studying English. I hope that our teachers are very good at setting standards and transmitting values to students.
All right. When it comes to the the parents of the students and the teachers as well, it's also understandable that the parents need to be told as to how the child is developing and what needs to be done and what kind of nurturing needs to be added to what is happening at the educational institution, so that the child hones his or her particular skills. Do you also emphasize on that?
We do. Parents in Chitral care very much about their children's education. Parents are motivated as well as the children. Sometimes the parents don't understand the sort of nurturing that's necessary. There's no point in being too harsh with a child who's having difficulty at school. What parents need to provide is an environment where studying is valued, we need to make sure that the students are given a time and a place where they can do their homework. One thing that's important is that girls are not asked to do too much homework, too much housework at home. Sometimes it can be very unfair that the boys are free in the evenings, and the girls, understandably, but unfortunately, are expected to do quite a lot of work with their mothers in the house. So we try to stress that.
So you're basically, also making the parents understand on what the child needs and what needs to be done in order to further not only broaden the educational capabilities of the child, but also hone proper skills in him or her in this case specifically. How have you seen your educational institutions progress in the 12 years that you've been associated with it? Are you proud today when you look back at it? Has been there? Would you like to recount any success stories? You've talked about the FSC topper, you've talked about the matriculation toppers as well. But what is the basic success story of your institution, if I were to ask you?
I hope our students I hope they're facing forward. I hope they're committed to building good lives. I hope they have the correct values. I hope that they're resilient. This is so important in the world that's changing so fast in front of them. There's no job security anymore. People are not going to have a job for life. These young people have to be agile, they have to be resilient, they have to have the capability to enjoy the world, to enjoy life, to enjoy studying, and to take setbacks on the chin. We've invested a lot of time and some resources recently in building up sport. I think games are very important to build a person's confidence. If you're physically competent, if you're good at games, it gives you a pep in everything else. And this year our students did extraordinarily well in the district tournament. They came top in cricket and football. They won in the whole district, and table tennis. Our girls won the English essay competition, speech competition. They really swept the board. And this was a huge achievement and something new.
All right. Also, Carey, I'd like to understand, there's one thing which is also, had been lacking in the last few years, but we see that more and more education institutions are taking this up. This is to understand what the child is proficient at or good at, and then to move that child or motivate that child towards that, that field. The parents might want a child to be a doctor or engineer, but the child might be more inclined towards something else, might be more artistic, or might be geared towards business administration. Do you also intend to, or are you doing something in that regard as well, to see what the inclination of the student is, specifically when it comes to the FA or FSC level?
We do our best. Parents are understandably very focused on the old professions, on medicine, engineering, above all. We do our best to widen their horizons, to raise their aspirations, but it's a constant issue. It's also, important for parents to understand, as I said, how much the world is changing. Even within school, the priorities now for us and for other schools have to be not only literacy and numeracy, but also digital skills and oracy, this new educational buzzword. Very ugly word that first came into usage in 1965.
But what is oracy all about?
It's being articulate, it's learning how to speak. And it's a crucial skill in a world where AI is taking over so much. Young people need to be able to express themselves, to debate, to disagree agreeably. We need to develop all of these skills. We try to do this through debates, through public speaking. It's going to be an ever more important skill in the years to come.
What about the digital skills?
Digital skills are crucial. They're easier in a way to teach, but obviously if you're not digitally literate, you're illiterate.
So is your institution doing something in that regard?
We are. We're teaching computer science now. For a long time I resisted that because the course was so second rate. We took the view that it was much better for our pupils to have good maths, good physics. Now there's a very good course been introduced and our students are studying it at FSC.
All right, what are the challenges in your point of view that all educators face, irrespective of, you are of course in Chitral, you are not in Islamabad or in Lahore, in Karachi, which is one of the big city, but you are in Chitral, which is of course also an important city of Pakistan. But what are the challenges do you feel as an educator yourself, educators face across the world or in Pakistan or in this region?
Well, the biggest and most obvious is, as I said, coming to grips with AI, with artificial intelligence, with the role of ChatGPT and all of the rest. We can't ignore these things, we can't ban them, but we have to find a way to harness them and to create some sort of synergy between human ability and the machine ability. We can't compete with machines, there's no point. So we have to concentrate on the skills, empathy, critical thinking, that enable our students to use artificial intelligence and also to flourish in a way to become more human in response to the rise of machine intelligence.
I think that's an important observation and inference, because this is, a lot of people are very skeptic as to what AI is going to do as far as human learning or human ability is concerned. A lot of people are afraid that AI is eventually going to take over and that the people will have less and less of a role in the future. Do you agree or disagree?
It's up to us how we cope with it. As I said, we have to use it and work with it, develop our skills in those areas where artificial intelligence can't compete. And we can't allow our human skills to atrophy. It's very easy to say artificial intelligence can do everything, we're defeated, in a strange way. But if we can become, as I said, if we can develop creativity, critical thinking, these skills,
all right,
we can compensate.
So critical thinking also, I think, is very important, and today in this day and age, to inculcate critical thinking within the students has become one of the basic necessities. But a lot of education institutions don't understand this as well. Critical thinking, they, normally they say, all right, you have to follow a certain curriculum and this is how you have to do it. How do you want to or try to inculcate critical thinking in your students?
By boosting the confidence of the teachers. It's very easy for a teacher to feel threatened by students' questions, by critical thinking, by anything that veers from the textbook. But if you have very good teachers, as we're lucky enough to do, and they're confident, they're feeling secure, then they can tackle that and encourage it.
You've said at one time that Chitral is my home. You've said my job is here, my house is here, and even my animals are here. It could not happen for me to stay away from Chitral. Why stay in Chitral? What motivates you to continue to stay there, to be attracted to that? I understand as an educationist, you are very strongly associated with your institution, but even then, a basic question comes to everybody's mind. Look, she's a British national, she is an OBE, she's been awarded by the British government as well for her work. She could have gone anywhere else in the world. She continues to stay in Chitral and she wants to stay in Chitral. Why?
Chitral is magic. Have you been?
No, I haven't, unfortunately.
Please come, you will understand. There is something in our district that's completely unique. Chitrali people are wonderful. They have a great lightness of step, a great intelligence. Life is always an adventure in Chitral. And at the same time, there's so much work to do. People are poor. We're increasingly cut off. It's strange. When our school was started in 1988, there were 4 flights a day. Now, quite honestly, we're lucky if we have 4 a year. People deserve better.
But there are road routes, aren't there?
Yes, since the tunnel's been opened, of course that helps. It's better than going over the Luwari top. But still, it's tough. We have a lot of load shedding. The authorities are doing their best. Quite recently, we were having 8 or 10 hours a day. Now it's down to 2 or 3.
All right.
And the authorities are doing their best. I know they care about the district. But still there's work to be done.
As an educationist, as a person, as a woman, also, I can add as a journalist, how do you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15 years? What do you foresee?
Well, goodness, I won't carry on forever in this job. My predecessor did stay a long time, and possibly for his own sake it was a bit too long. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done to strengthen the foundations of our school. So I hope to stay for a bit.
All right, that's wonderful. Any message to young students, young boys and girls and educators across Pakistan or the world that you, with your experience, would like to give?
Enjoy life. Make the best of it. You only live once, and there are such opportunities for young people today.
That is true. And you know, the opportunities come if you go towards them. I think there are a lot of opportunities that we don't know or understand exist. We think that we are confined within the domains of a job, of a salary, but I think there's much, much more to it. The world has so much to offer. We just have to come be good scavengers and, you know, delve into the right.
Brilliant expression.
I think this is what we need to do, and this is what you know, educators like yourself also need to do. Tell the students, go dive, look for opportunities that interest you, and then go for them. You know, the sky is the limit, as we always say. Thank you so very much, Carey Schofield, to have joined us, to have given us an opportunity to understand why British national wants to continue to stay and work as an educator in Chitral, and how passionate you feel about your, I will say your city, Chitral, and your students and your staff. I hope that, you know, this passion that you have also resonates through your staff, through your children, and through all those who meet you, because I think that will be the opportunity for them to also understand what passion is all about, something that you also eminently show through the way you have been working in Chitral. Thank you very much, Carey, to have joined us. Kindly stay with us for around 5 more minutes till I end this show. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. The first concerns US President-elect Donald Trump, who is prepared, quote unquote, to declare a national emergency and use military assets for mass deportations to fulfill his 2024 electoral promise. Now, he says he is prepared to declare this emergency, and he made this announcement on Monday in a short post on his Truth Social platform in response to a post by Tom Fitton, president of the conservative group Judicial Watch. Now, Fitton had written on the 8th of November that reports show that the incoming Trump administration was prepared to declare a national emergency and will use military assets in its mass deportation push. Trump has replied that that is in fact true. This statement is, of course, one of the firmest responses on how Trump plans to fulfill his campaign promises to conduct the largest deportation operation in the US history. But of course, this doesn't come without its challenges. So let's see how this upcoming government in the US moves as far as this mass deportation is concerned, because an estimated 11 to 13 million undocumented residents live in the US, and immigration and human rights groups have long warned of the humanitarian fallout of a mass deportation effort. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's come a little bit about climate change, because the fact is that COP29 also is happening, although it's now in its second half, but it highlights a very important event that is occurring the world over, and that is climate change, and the effects of climate change are also paramount. Now, sea levels are rising due to this climate change and could permanently displace up to 20 million people by the year 2100. This is a report that has been prepared by the Mediterranean experts on climate and environmental change. That is, of course, highlighting or confirming what many of the climate experts have been saying since a very, very long time. Transport networks and cultural heritage sites are also at high risk as far as this report is concerned, and this report has been presented at COP29. That is why I was making kind of the relevance or reference to COP. The region is also home to 3 of the world's 20 airports most at risk of coastal flooding. The Mediterranean Sea, we all know, is a source of immense pride to the 22 countries that border its shores, but we've seen the devastating floods that have happened in Spain's Valencia region, which killed more than 220 people recently. The report says that the Mediterranean coast is among the world's regions with the highest probability of compound flooding. He says yet the climate change and population growth in these vulnerable areas will only worsen the impacts of that type of flooding. But by the end of the century, the sea level across the coast would have risen by 1 meter. At the same time, extreme sea level events could occur once in 100 years, are likely to increase almost by 10%, which is of course extremely alarming. So of course, climate change and the impact it's going to have the world is all but evident, and we need to do something in that respect as a collective, as a combined global community, to stop the effects before it's way too late, before the crisis goes out of hand. That is a very important message that needs to come across, and I hope COP29 is doing the right thing in that direction. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.